Emotions are like waves, they come and go. But do we need to react to every wave that hits us? Welcome, dear listener, to a journey of self-discovery and emotional mastery. In our fast-paced, high-stress world, it's all too easy to get swept away by our emotions. We react impulsively, often regretting our words or actions later. But what if we could change that? What if we could attain a level of emotional control that leads to a more peaceful and fulfilling life? This is not a new concept. In fact, it's an ancient wisdom passed down from Gautam Buddha, who taught the power of not reacting. Buddha's teachings emphasize mindfulness and emotional control as the path to enlightenment. They are as relevant today as they were over 2,000 years ago. So, are you ready to ride the waves rather than being swept away by them? Today, we delve into the power of not reacting, a wisdom passed down from Gautam Buddha. What does it mean to not react? And why is it such a powerful tool? This concept is not about becoming emotionless or indifferent, but rather about gaining control over our responses to the world around us. It's about creating a space between stimulus and response where we can choose our actions rather than being driven by instinct or impulse. Not reacting doesn't mean suppressing our emotions either. It's not about bottling up feelings until they explode. Instead, it's about recognizing our emotions, acknowledging them, and then deciding how we want to respond. This approach allows us to respond from a place of calm and clarity, rather than from a place of heightened emotion or stress. Now, why is this so important? Well, let's consider the impact of impulsive reactions. We've all had moments where we've said something in anger that we later regretted, or made a decision in the heat of the moment that had negative consequences. These impulsive reactions can damage our relationships, lead to poor decision-making, and even harm our mental health by creating stress and anxiety. By contrast, when we learn to not react impulsively, we gain control over our emotions and our actions. We can navigate difficult situations with more grace and wisdom. We can make decisions that align with our values and long-term goals, rather than being ruled by short-term emotions. We can improve our relationships by responding to others with understanding and compassion, rather than with defensiveness or anger. In essence, not reacting is about living a more mindful, intentional life. It's about being present in each moment, rather than being swept away by our emotions. It's about responding to life's challenges with wisdom and compassion, rather than with fear or anger. It's a powerful tool that can transform our lives, improving our relationships, our mental health, and our overall well-being. Understanding this, we begin to see the profound wisdom in Gautam Buddha's teachings. Gautam Buddha, an embodiment of mindfulness and emotional control, shared invaluable insights on these topics. His teachings, spanning over 2.5 millennia, are as relevant today as they were back then. One of the cornerstones of Buddha's wisdom is the concept of non-reactivity. Consider the quote, "Just as a snake sheds its skin, we must shed our past over and over again." This quote emphasizes the importance of not reacting to past experiences or future anxieties, but rather, living in the present moment. By not reacting to these thoughts and feelings, we free ourselves from the shackles of our past and the uncertainty of our future, enabling us to truly experience the now. Another key teaching of Buddha states, "Do not dwell in the past, do not dream of the future, concentrate the mind on the present moment." It's a reminder to focus on the present, to not react impulsively based on what has happened or what might happen. When we react, we often do so based on past experiences or future fears. But by staying present, we can respond thoughtfully and constructively. Buddha's wisdom also encompasses emotional control. His teachings tell us that holding on to anger is like grasping a hot coal with the intent of throwing it at someone else. You are the one who gets burned. This profound statement teaches us that reacting with anger or other negative emotions only harms us. By managing our emotions, we save ourselves from this self-inflicted pain. The teachings of Buddha also underline the importance of compassion and empathy. He said, "In the end, only 3 things matter: how much you loved, how gently you lived, and how gracefully you let go of things not meant for you." This encourages us to not react with hostility or resentment, but with understanding and kindness towards ourselves and others. Through these teachings, we find a timeless guide to mastering our emotions. By embracing the wisdom of Gautam Buddha, we can learn to navigate the tumultuous seas of our emotions, responding to life's challenges with grace, calmness, and compassion. The power of not reacting is not just theoretical, it has practical applications that can transform our lives. Consider the story of a teacher who, despite facing constant disruptions from a particularly unruly student, never lost her cool. Instead of reacting impulsively, she chose to observe the student's behavior, understanding that it was a cry for attention rather than a personal affront. By not reacting, she was able to engage the student positively, turning hostility into a constructive dialogue. This approach led to a dramatic improvement in the student's behavior, a clear testament to the power of not reacting. Next, let's turn our attention to a corporate scenario. A manager faced with a team member who consistently missed deadlines. Instead of reacting with anger, the manager chose to not react negatively. Instead, he sought to understand the root cause of the issue. It turned out that the team member was struggling with a personal problem that was affecting his work. By not reacting impulsively, the manager was able to provide support, leading to improved performance and creating a more empathetic work environment. And then there's the story of a couple, where one partner had a habit of saying hurtful things during arguments. The other partner, instead of reacting, chose to remain silent, not to ignore, but to avoid escalating the situation. This non-reaction allowed for cooler heads to prevail. The couple was then able to have a calm, constructive conversation about their issues. By not reacting, they were able to strengthen their relationship and foster better communication. These stories are but a glimpse into the transformative power of not reacting. From classrooms to corporate offices, from personal relationships to self-improvement, the power of not reacting holds immense potential. It's all about taking a step back, observing, understanding, and then responding mindfully, rather than reacting impulsively. As we've seen, the power of not reacting can lead to more peaceful relationships, better understanding, and a more fulfilling life. It's a skill that requires practice, but the results, as we've seen, are well worth the effort. These stories demonstrate that the power of not reacting is not just profound, but also practical. So how can we cultivate this ability to not react? How can we gain control over our emotions? The answer lies in three key areas: mindfulness techniques, understanding triggers, and cultivating empathy. Mindfulness techniques are a powerful tool in our emotional toolkit. They help us to become more aware of our thoughts and feelings and how they influence our reactions. Techniques such as meditation and deep breathing exercises can help us to slow down, to observe our thoughts without judgment, and to detach from our emotions. Instead of becoming engulfed in a wave of emotion, mindfulness allows us to stand back and observe the wave from the shore. It provides us with the space to choose our response, rather than reacting impulsively. Understanding our triggers is another crucial aspect of emotional control. Triggers are specific situations, behaviors, or thoughts that spark an emotional reaction in us. They're like the hidden tripwires in our minds, setting off an emotional explosion before we even realize what's happened. By identifying our triggers, we can be better prepared to manage them. We can learn to recognize the early signs of an emotional reaction and to implement strategies to prevent the reaction from escalating. This might involve using mindfulness techniques, challenging negative thoughts, or taking a time out to calm down. Finally, cultivating empathy is a key part of emotional control. Empathy involves understanding and sharing the feelings of others. But it's not just about others. It's also about being empathetic towards ourselves. This means acknowledging our feelings without judgment and treating ourselves with kindness and compassion. When we're empathetic towards ourselves, we're less likely to get caught up in negative self-talk or to beat ourselves up over our emotions. Instead, we can view our emotions as natural and normal parts of the human experience, and we can respond to them in a more balanced and compassionate way. So, to recap, mindfulness techniques help us to become more aware of our thoughts and feelings, and to detach from our emotions. Understanding our triggers enables us to recognize and manage the situations, behaviors, or thoughts that spark emotional reactions in us. And cultivating empathy allows us to treat ourselves and others with kindness and compassion, reducing the intensity of our emotional reactions. And remember, this is a journey. It's not about achieving perfection or never experiencing negative emotions. It's about becoming more aware of our emotions, understanding where they come from, and learning to respond to them in a healthier and more balanced way. It's about gaining control over our emotions, rather than letting them control us. Mastering our emotions is a journey, but with these tools we are well equipped to embark on it. Gautam Buddha's life is a testament to the transformative power of emotional control. Born into royalty as Siddhartha Gautama, he lived a sheltered life, cocooned from the harsh realities of the world. However, upon confronting the inevitability of suffering, he decided to renounce his princely life in search for answers. His journey led him through severe ascetic practices, pushing his body to the brink of death. Yet he realized that such extremes were not the path to enlightenment. Instead, he discovered the middle way, a path of moderation away from the extremes of self-indulgence and self-mortification. Buddha's journey was marked by a deep understanding and mastery over his emotions. He learned to observe them without immediate reaction, understanding that emotions are transient and do not define oneself. This is echoed in his teaching. Just as a snake sheds its skin, we must shed our past over and over again. This implies the need to let go of past resentments and attachments, to live fully in the present. Another profound teaching is, holding on to anger is like grasping a hot coal with the intent of throwing it at someone else. You are the one who gets burned. This highlights the self-destructive nature of unchecked emotions. Buddha understood that reacting impulsively to emotions often leads to regret and harm, not just to others, but to oneself. Buddha's emotional mastery was also evident in his interaction with others. Once, a man insulted Buddha, but instead of reacting with anger, Buddha calmly asked, "If you buy a gift for someone, and that person does not take it, to whom does the gift belong?" The man was forced to admit that it would return to the giver. Buddha replied, "That is correct, and it is exactly the same with your anger. If you become angry with me and I do not get insulted, then the anger falls back on you." This story encapsulates the essence of non-reactivity. By not accepting the man's anger, Buddha demonstrated that we have the power to choose our emotional responses. We can choose not to accept others' negativity and instead respond with compassion and understanding. Lastly, Buddha's emotional control was grounded in compassion and love for all beings. His teaching, radiate boundless love towards the entire world, above, below, and across, unhindered, without ill will, without enmity, emphasizes the transformative power of love and compassion. By cultivating these qualities, we can navigate our emotions without being overwhelmed by them. Buddha's journey is a powerful reminder that we too can achieve emotional mastery. His teachings offer practical wisdom on navigating the turbulent waters of our emotions. By practicing non-reactivity, understanding the transient nature of emotions, and cultivating compassion, we can lead lives of greater peace, fulfillment, and happiness. We have explored the power of not reacting, the wisdom of Gautama Buddha, and the tools to control our emotions. Let's take a moment to reflect on our journey thus far. We've learned that not reacting doesn't mean inaction or indifference. Rather, it's a conscious choice to remain calm and composed amidst the storm of emotions. This power of non-reactivity allows us to create a space between our feelings and our actions, preventing impulsive reactions that can harm our relationships, mental health, and overall well-being. We've also dived into the teachings of Gautama Buddha, who thousands of years ago understood the significance of mastering one's emotions. His wisdom, encapsulated in the principle of mindfulness, encourages us to observe our feelings without judgment, to sit with them, and to let them pass without allowing them to dictate our actions. We've seen real-life examples of individuals who have transformed their lives by applying this principle. Their stories serve as a testament to the power of not reacting and the profound impact it can have on our personal and professional lives. Furthermore, we've discussed practical tools to help us control our emotions. Mindfulness techniques such as meditation and deep breathing can increase our awareness of our feelings and help curb impulsive reactions. Understanding our emotional triggers is another key step towards emotional control. By recognizing these triggers, we can manage our reactions more effectively. And finally, we've underscored the importance of empathy in this process. Cultivating empathy towards ourselves and others can aid us in understanding our emotions better, thereby facilitating their control. So, as we wrap up, I encourage you to take these principles to heart and apply them in your own lives. Try it out. Next time you feel an emotional wave coming, don't react immediately. Pause, breathe, and then choose your response. Remember, every wave that hits us does not require a reaction. Mastering our emotions is mastering our lives. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more insightful content.